Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Building IQ and Energy Solutions Introduction to the Building IQ 5i platform. Today we'll be doing a series of short presentations and a live demo. The purpose of today's session is to give you an overview of the Building IQ technology and how it can aid your customers in developing or executing energy efficiency or demand programs. We'll give a broad overview of the technology and how it fits into the broader landscape of emerging energy technologies and how specifically it can help within the national grid client space. So with that, I'd like to get going by introducing our panelists. We have from Energy Solutions, we have Teddy Kish, who's the Senior Project Manager there. He brings over 8 years of experience in demand management strategy and is very passionate about bringing new technologies and business techniques into the clean energy transition and the energy space. We also have Kevin DeBesitis with Building IQ. Kevin heads up our utility commercial solutions with over 25 years experience in the building construction technology, distributed renewable areas, and energy efficiency. Finally, we have Ken Hemanowski, who's our Director of Product Management. Ken has 20 plus years experience, the last 8 years in the energy space and 15 years prior to that as a software developer in the consumer space. And so with that, I would like to hand off to Teddy, who will give us an introduction into the evolving energy landscape. Teddy?
Yeah, hi everyone, and welcome. So Energy Solutions is currently implementing, on behalf of NYSERDA, a large-scale deployment of Building IQ technology. As part of this, we wanted to step back and really talk a little bit about how this deployment fits into the broader changes that are going on both in New York under the REV and the Clean Energy Fund, but also just in the energy space that's changing very rapidly here. So Building IQ is a technology that's part of a broader suite of technologies that have a capability for real-time energy management which underpins the more dynamic grid that we're transitioning to. Previously, we had very much a centralized grid, and now it's more dynamic where there's transition between buildings and other distributed energy resources on the grid. And so Building IQ and other technologies that have this capability are underpinning this new communications platform by offering a number of opportunities, including energy optimization, but also moving beyond simply energy optimization into new ways how we understand how technologies are communicating and consuming energy through real-time monitoring, through the web portals, automating M&V to improve how we understand and can verify that energy savings are actually being achieved, notifying us and facilities maintenance managers when things are not working as planned, and also capable of receiving load signals, so participating in demand response and emerging markets and use as a distributed energy resource. In addition, there's also one of maybe the most important things is significant non-energy benefits to drive customer value. So the insights that maintenance managers can get to run their facilities more efficiently, make people more comfortable, et cetera, which are the reasons why people are using energy. So to improve the customer experience. So we'll talk at the end a little bit about NYSERDA deployment with Building IQ, and then also talk about NYSERDA's real-time energy management program, which is managed by Joshua Kleiber at NYSERDA. We're working currently very closely with Joshua on this deployment, and he's kind of overseeing as a program manager. And I'll hand it over to Steve.
Great, thank you, Teddy. Let me give you a quick overview of Building IQ at this point. Again, I'm Steve Nguyen. I'm the VP of Product and Marketing here at Building IQ. Our company is a software company in the building automation space, and what we leverage is a cloud-based machine learning platform for data analytics and predictive modeling. And so what we really do is we build models that predict the behavior of a building. In some of our product lines, we integrate with the HVAC system to do energy management. We can realize somewhere in the order of 10 to 25% energy savings off the HVAC system itself, with around 20% peak load reduction, which is a repeatable process. Right now, we've got about 600 plus buildings and 65 million or so square feet under management. And we're funded with Siemens and Schneider, as well as a fundraising round out of Australia. And we are currently partnering with a number of different utilities. But before I get there, I'd like to just briefly talk about the fact that Building IQ is not a single point solution. It is actually a platform deployment We will be talking about something we call PEO, or Predictive Energy Optimization, today. But in the sphere of the built environment, not every building is suitable for PEO, or Predictive Energy Optimization, which is a very highly tunable 24/7 automated control and prediction environment. In point of fact, companies may come in on visualization, and we may take that from visualization to what we call a data-driven retro-commissioning project, or smart tune, and we may actually manage and operate the HVAC system. So across a single portfolio, you'll have a mixture of services being offered to the client on the Building IQ platform that, again, may span from basic visualization and metering and sub-metering and measurement and benchlining of ECMs, all the way out to a highly intelligent, predictive, automated control environment with built-in measurement and verification. And so the journey may start with understanding what's going on, where you're just visualizing and benchmarking and doing trend analysis, to a position where you may be transitioning that building for increased marketability. And so now you're doing some sort of optimized tuning, validating what you've done with M&V, and setting the stage to move into what we call automated optimization, or live optimization. So within that space of live optimization is the product we'll be talking about today, in large measure, which is PEO. And one of the beauties there is it's a combined efficiency and DR solution. It is autonomous control using machine learning, so it's constantly improving algorithms. And the net of that, of course, is to not only increase the comfort and efficiency of the building, but also from a broader landscape, it increases the marketability of that asset. So with that, I would like to turn our conversation back to the New York region and Kevin.
Good morning. Kevin Debasitis, working very closely with the local team here in New York. What obviously Steve had started to describe was how we are trying to address kind of the technology journey of any building. Basically, very proactive in the state of New York, whereby they're trying to envision being able to take numerous buildings, no matter what the age, no matter what their technology level, and being able to enhance that journey through a couple of programs. The first one, the ETAC, the Emerging Technology and Accelerated Commercialization Program, that is utilizing our predictive energy control, our PEO, whereby we connect to a building's BMS system and provide cloud-based logistics and analytics to continuously kind of fine-tune the HVAC operations in the building. And the second program, the Real-Time Energy Manager, which is, again, you just need a building with an electrical meter, a smart meter, or we'll make it a smart meter. We have a core team here, has over 10 years of experience in meter analytics, and indeed, just this past January, we were certified as both a system vendor as well as a service vendor for the RTEM program, which is our Energy Worksite module, and we'll take a closer look at these here in a little bit. So as we look at the full Building IQ 5i platform, we'll drill into each one of these kind of services, and the first one we'll take a look at is predictive control, which is our predictive energy optimization, and we'll kind of do a bit of a detailed analysis and have a demonstration of this on the portal. So predictive energy optimization, or PEO, as Steve mentioned, we are in hundreds of buildings around the world. It is proven to create 10 to 25% energy savings on the HVAC system. But realizing that every building is its own snowflake, we do also provide real-time monitoring, whereby for the state of New York, we have an operations center in Secaucus, New Jersey, and each one of our buildings is monitored 24/7 through a global monitoring network distributed throughout the world. But each predictive or each optimization engineer gets to focus on each building, gets to learn each building, gets to learn the team that's operating that building, and our goal is to really be a partner in this journey to evolve the technology in any building to reach this level of kind of machine learning automated optimization. There are no upfront capital costs, and Teddy will describe how the NYSERDA ETAC program helps us out quite a bit. We guarantee a positive cash flow whereby whatever annual fees there are, or a software as a service, we guarantee that the savings that we create is going to at least offset our fees, and typically we're saving 2 to 3 times our fees, so it's very much a cash positive situation. Depending upon our visibility in the building, particularly if we have supervisory control down to the zones, we can certainly impact and improve comfort. Part of what we'll see here in a minute is how the model or how the platform models the thermodynamic characteristics of a building, which helps to smooth out hot and cold zones in the building and ultimately improves comfort. And one of the other additional benefits, both for the utility as well as for the customer, is that it provides a platform for automated demand reduction. We'll see on the platform here in a little bit, particularly for National Grid customers who have been hesitant to participate in the Day Ahead program, let alone the emergency program. We provide an automated platform to indeed get them to participate, benefit the grid with peak load reduction, and also have them capture some of the incentives that are available. And then finally, we also provide automated measurement and verification, which is really kind of the backbone of how we show our value to our customers, and indeed how we show our value and impact for grid enhancement to the utilities. So we start off with a couple of different models that we'll see live here in a minute. The first one is capturing at least 12 months of historical data for the building. We take that historical consumption data. It is corrected for historical weather, usage, occupancy, and any other factors. So it's a very accurate baseline. We utilize that baseline then going forward to indeed measure our success in optimizing both for energy efficiency and for demand reduction. The second very unique model to Building IQ is we generate a thermodynamic model of the building. Basically, we do this by listening to the BMS points. Again, we're leveraging the existing BMS system that's in the building. We're collecting the appropriate information. We're utilizing that information in our cloud to generate thermodynamic model of the building. The model is updated every 4 hours. The longer it's in the building, the smarter it gets. And basically, it's self-correcting for seasonal variations and so forth, and becomes a very integral part of our optimization algorithms going forward as we optimize the building. This is kind of a graphic of the overall ecosystem. Starting over on the left-hand side, we have our thermodynamic model of the building and all the comfort parameters that are given to us by the building operators. We collect our weather from weather.com. We do install what we call our local site appliance that will communicate with the BMS system in the building. It is installed behind the firewall of the building, takes advantage of all of the security measures that are in place, can only send an encrypted handshake out to our cloud, which is Rackspace down in Dallas, Texas. But we also take into account any time of use pricing impacts that there are in the building. As I mentioned, receiving demand response calls, and of course, last but not least, ultimately, basically maintaining comfort in the building, which is priority number one. So with that, this is a screenshot of our portal, but rather than just show you a screenshot, I will hand it off to Ken here, who will take us on a tour of the portal, and I'll let it go to Ken.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Ken Hymanowski with Building IQ. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick look at the Building IQ web portal, which is securely accessible from any web browser. And this portal is what many of the Building IQ services that Steve outlined, those used for remote monitoring as well as optimized control of the BMS or BAS. And as I begin showing you this portal, let me say that this is the tool that our own Building IQ operations team uses to remotely monitor the building's performance and implement the optimized control via PEO. Each end customer can also have access to this portal, so they themselves can see the performance and do their own review and analysis if they so choose, but that's completely optional. And customers don't actually ever have to log on to this portal. Building IQ handles all the setup, the monitoring, and the optimized control on their behalf, and automatically delivers energy and cost savings while still maintaining occupant comfort, which is also always a chief goal of the system. But we also generate monthly performance reports, which are delivered to customers, which also summarize the performance and list issues that the Building IQ operations team may have identified that could be affecting performance or equipment longevity. So as we look at this first landing screen of the portal, this is what we call our portfolio overview dashboard. And this is where you can see the recent 30-day savings performance for a group of buildings to which Building IQ is connected. You have the ability to create different groupings of buildings within the portal, so you can kind of dice and slice them any way you want. And in this view, each square here represents a building in the portfolio. Let me mention that to calculate the savings results that are shown here and also included in our reports, Building IQ uses its own automated measurement and verification capabilities to generate an accurate baseline model of each building's typical energy usage before Building IQ ever even touches the building. The calculations and results of our automated M&V have been vetted by other utility programs where our services have been deployed, and they've been found to be very robust and trustworthy. A note here is that it's compliant with the International Baseline Standard Protocol known as IPMVP, and it's option C under that. So from here, you can click in on any of these building tiles and then drill down into a more detailed building view. Here you see a building level dashboard screen for this building, and this gives you a quick overview of how this building is performing right now as well as in the recent past. Customers have the ability to choose which zones in which to enable automated control, and in this zones tile you can see that reflected. Each zone here is represented by its own vertical bar, and zones that are under Building IQ control show up as green, whereas zones that are mapped but not under Building IQ control, if they so choose, show up as gray. So the height of each bar here is indicative of the current temperature of each zone relative to the others. So this is a way you can get a quick idea of what's going on across all your zones at a glance and possibly look for outliers. Just one other thing I'll point out in this screen, in this bottom graph, you can see a summary of the kW savings for the past 7 days. The gray bands here, which I can turn on and off by just clicking on them, represent the operating hours, and of course the green shading represents the savings determined by a comparison of actual power usage against the baseline we mentioned before. So this is a screen that end customers might find useful to monitor current conditions and performance of the system if they choose to log into the system. And finally, I want to show you one last screen here in the portal, and that is our trends, data trends screen, which we more simply just refer to as our graph screen. This is where all the points and set points that were found during our scanning process of the BMS, and then the mapping of those points into the Building IQ system can be seen on a zone-by-zone basis for any period of time. So you can see the list of points shown in the graph here on the data legend right here. You can also toggle their view on and off simply by clicking on them. You can actually choose more points for display in the system. Anything that we've scanned and mapped can also be shown in these trends graphs. So as you can see, you can show lots and lots of data here if you so choose. You can see that there are shortcuts here for looking at different periods of time. You can also choose a longer period of time or exact period of time by clicking on the date control selectors. Right now you're looking at, in this building, the zone known as AH1. You can jump to any specific zone by clicking on this list and clicking on it, or you can step through the zones one by one by clicking here. If there are any particular areas of interest you want to investigate more, you can click on zoom and then click and drag, and it'll zoom in and continue to zoom in farther and farther to investigate any issues that you might see.
Hey Ken, do our building clients, how often are they using these charts?
Yeah, so I would say that most of our end customers are not necessarily digging into this level of view or analysis, but they're there if they want them. This is a key screen that our operations team uses to remotely monitor performance and to help diagnose problems in HVAC equipment or control systems that could be impacting energy usage or savings. Again, most end customers don't need to access the screen because Building IQ handles everything on their behalf. And one final note before I turn it back over to Kevin, and that is about Building IQ's demand response capabilities. Building IQ has the ability to receive automated signals from a utility's DR server and to schedule and then automatically execute a drop in a building's HVAC load, all without human intervention. If it turns out that a utility doesn't have an automated DR server, then the DR events can also be manually scheduled in the system. And of course, the system also enables users to schedule times in which they don't want to participate or to disable specific zones from participating or even abort participation altogether during an actual event. So again, Building IQ handles all the details of participating in DR events, and customers don't need to get involved in the monitoring or control of these events unless they want to. And the same intelligence and predictive abilities that are built into the Building IQ automated control under normal operations also extend to the operations under DR events. So that's a whirlwind tour of the portal. Happy to talk to anyone who has interest in digging deeper into the portal at another time. So with that, I will turn it back over to Kevin.
We just wanted to note, a couple of case studies here with some of the sample facilities we've been working in New York, everything from 2.5 million square feet, multi-tenant commercial towers, where we have actually achieved a fairly long history over 3 years of significant HVAC reduction and savings. We have also launched in our first hospital here in the United States in Manhattan, the Allen Hospital, where the software originated over in Australia. We're actually in 11 hospitals. Obviously, hospitals being a very energy-intensive operation, 24/7, they can realize some significant benefit from both our operational assistance as well as optimization and energy savings.
Kevin, we have a question.
Yes.
The question is there an optimal sized building for the service? And are there optimal types of buildings?
Well, good question. Typically, as you might have heard, we do like to see buildings that have the BMS infrastructure that we can connect to, although BACnet is preferred, open protocol. However, we can engineer communication with just about any legacy system out there. We do like to see the buildings be probably greater than 80,000 square feet, whereby we could have an impact on kind of using that energy battery, so to speak, and shifting things around. But it does apply to a number of buildings where in everything from, sports hockey arenas to healthcare, academic buildings, commercial office, and actually, and again, retail that have rooftop units, so long as they have digital controls and they're networked together, we can operate in those buildings as well.
And follow-up question to that was, how long does it take to set the system up at a facility?
Typically, we like to jump right in with the local team. The first step, critical step, is establishing that secure internet connection. We've done it in as quickly as 5 days, but it could take some time in working things out with the local team. Because once we get that communication to the BMS, then we're really off and running. The time frame in connecting to the BMS typically could be anywhere from a couple of weeks to maybe 30 to 45 days. But once we get connected to the BMS and we can see those BACnet points, it's just a few hours of kind of mapping the points that we need, and then the building will go into learning mode, whereby that thermodynamic model is started to be generated, and we're off and running. So you could probably say typically 30 to 60 days to get up and running in a building.
Yeah, if I could add to that answer a bit, the moment we have the Building IQ appliance connected and integrated into the BMS system via the BACnet points, our network operations center begins to provide oversight. So from that moment forward, while the building is in what we call learning mode, our operations center is actually looking for anomalies. So while it may take as many days as it takes, say 5 days for the IT guys to get us involved and authorize everything and push this in place, from that moment forward, we begin doing trending and analysis and diagnosis. So the moment we begin to see outliers, unusual spikes in energy, some weird looking profiles compared to what our kind of best practices tell us, we begin to communicate that information to your clients. So they don't have a dead period, if you will, where nothing is going on, where we're learning. They actually begin to get value out of the service immediately. And that's, as you would expect in a lot of buildings, that can be very big things that are identified immediately. For instance, energy that doesn't taper off at the end of the day when we know that the operating hours are curtailed, Monday through Friday until 6 p.m., 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. If we start seeing things on the weekends, we immediately begin to work with the facilities team. We may not have full knowledge by then because we haven't learned the BMS yet, but we certainly are looking for anomalies and identifying them and immediately beginning to work with your clients so they begin to see value out of the platform literally from day one, the moment that Building IQ appliance is integrated. There was one other question. I think it's really for both Teddy and Kevin to come back to the NYSERDA partnership, which we will do at the end. What are some of the barriers that we experience in getting customers to adopt the technology?
Well, ideally, as I think we all know, being in the built environment for many, many years, there are multiple stakeholders with all of these projects with differing goals and objectives. Really, I think it's educating all of those stakeholders on the potential benefits of implementing a system like this. As we mentioned earlier, we try to eliminate all risk, financial risk, to adopt the technology insofar as guaranteeing we're going to save more than our fee. However, getting to that point is a journey. It's a journey, I think, that some of the chief engineers and local operating engineers, some will embrace. Some might be hesitant, just due to their familiarity with the building and maybe not wanting to give up perhaps a sense of control. And we try to emphasize that they remain in control at all times. We are a partner looking to make their lives better and ultimately want to work with them hand in hand to operate a more efficient building that will save some energy, improve some comfort, help eliminate troubleshooting headaches along the way. Getting that initial education part in place is really the initial challenge. All right, any other questions there, Steve?
Sorry, there's one more. Can the system help identify other control points that could be added to the BMS? And can it help identify energy efficiency improvements like adding a VSD? Third part from the same questioner, and does it monitor gas-fired equipment?
Well, the answer is yes to all of the above. So basically, once we have communication with the BMS, there's only a certain subset of points that we need in order to achieve our predictive energy optimization of the air side of the HVAC system. However, we can collect data, trend data, on any BMS point. So ideally, as part of our automated measurement and verification services, which could be completely separate from the predictive energy optimization, we would indeed collect data, other BMS data points that would allow for trending and monitoring of virtually any piece of equipment in the building. That is actually the goal of the real-time energy manager that we will take a look at here in a minute. But the platform is set up to do that. And in regards to gas-fired equipment, again, so long as there's a meter that we can install that will give us, either Modbus to BOCnet or BOCnet data, we can collect that data and incorporate it into the portal as well.
Great. And just for everybody's edification, we are recording and we will provide a playback. So I know a couple of you have to leave, but we'll follow up with an email with a link. It'll be a few days though. That was it for the questions that came through at this section, and I'm going to go back to the NYSERDA program.
So Energy Solutions is partnering with NYSERDA. So we and Building IQ as part of the NYSERDA's ETAC deployment, so that Emerging Technologies and Accelerated Commercialization pilot. And the goal of that ETAC program was really to take proven energy technologies that may be underutilized and help basically address what we discussed before, kind of some core market adoption barriers to help scale the technology in the market. So this pilot and demonstration is focused on a statewide and large-scale demonstration to really prove out the technology at scale so that future utilities can implement the program for themselves based on the data collected and the demonstration of the technology in this initial program. So our goal is to achieve scale. So instead of just having a one-off or one building or two building where someone might say, well, you might not have covered everything I'm interested in, we're doing a large-scale demonstration. So 25 buildings across a broad variety of building types. So education, hospitals, commercial office, really trying to demonstrate it across many building types and gather energy data for many building types. So through that, we're validating the energy and non-energy benefits across all those building types. We do have a partner who's actually doing some third-party verification, M&V, and what we're going to be doing with that performance is reporting it through a dashboard to increase transparency. So across all the buildings that we get, we'll have a rolled-up value. So you can see if you're a third party or a utility that's interested in deploying Building IQ as part of, let's say, a commercial incentive program, you'd be able to say, okay, across these 25 buildings in the last year or two, there's been 25% energy savings in the commercial HVAC. You'd actually have insight into the savings across all the buildings that are in this deployment. Our other goal is to educate the market and develop the supply chain. We have many new technologies coming on board in the digital age, and there's not always an educated workforce that understands how these building technologies, both, let's say, facility managers, but also contractors who might be servicing the building, how these technologies can really support what they do. And so as part of this, we're doing a number of webinars and in-person meetings to really help educate the supply chain about this technology and also real-time energy management technologies in general, and help them understand how you can integrate this technology and integrate energy efficiency DR into a uniform value proposition that really drives value to the customers that those supply chain partners are supporting.
The question came in about the duration of the ETAC program.
Yes, so right now we're providing a $20,000 per building incentive, and that goes until the duration of the program will be until end of 2018. We're hoping to get all buildings in by August of 2018, so that there's that ramp-up period where we can make sure that everything is online by the end of 2018.
Is the incentive for buildings that come online or buildings that basically enter the program?
The buildings, to receive the incentive, they must basically have to have the technology installed, and once it's connected and we can see through the Building IQ portal that it's operating, and basically the Building IQ has the capability of controlling. So it's not necessarily doing controlling yet, but once it has the capability and it's been installed, that's when the incentive.
And just a reminder for everyone that that time period may be as little as just a few days and as long as like a month or so. And it really just depends on the IT department on site, because the appliance is pretty simple. But the moment we get it in place with its IP address and an ability to talk to the backnet points, we begin to pull in those points and map those points. And the moment we do, we can control them, albeit at that point it would qualify, but we would not be what we call control mode. Control mode is really our internal nomenclature for an ability to do autonomous control based on the baselines and based on heuristics that are set forth with the building's team. Again, the criteria would be to be able to control, and that can occur in as little as 5 days.
Yeah, and one other thing about this pilot that we're really excited about is with this new suite of technologies, in particular Building IQ, is that their capability to respond to price signals, to anything that the utility or, let's say, the independent system operator has a signal that they've sent to the building. This technology can really communicate and be used as potentially a battery, as a distributed energy resource. So it's really a technology where by demonstrating this across 25 buildings, we're really showing that to the broader market, both customers, utilities, to that this is one of the technologies that can really be part of the clean energy transition and the distributed grid. So there's lots of opportunities, and I think we're just scratching the surface with the capabilities. In 10 years, this technology, when the infrastructure continues to grow, build, like the utility infrastructure, I think these technologies will provide even greater services and more insight than I think we can even imagine.
Sorry, one more question about the program, the pilots. Is the pilot in New York City, Con Ed for now, or other utility service territories as well?
The pilot is statewide, so any building that is in the state of New York is eligible. And we would like to see, our goal is to have very broad application. So we want to see across New York, right? We want to see it in every major city and every major utility territory. And that's part of our goal of demonstrating that broad scale application.
We're going to hand it back to you, Kevin.
Yeah, so excellent. So in our last few minutes here, before some more Q&A, just wanted to indeed describe some more of our suite of services and how they apply to the NYSERDA Real-Time Energy Manager. And those are the Energy Worksite and Facility Worksite parts of our platform. As we touched upon earlier, so Energy Worksite, it is a meter analytics platform that was designed to address a portfolio of buildings, providing visualization tools for identifying outliers, energy erratics, and so forth. And the goal of the Real-Time Energy Manager system, our program, is to, for us to identify those for the customer by utilizing our portal, making operational and or perhaps corrective actions in the building that would achieve energy savings, and we would share these recommendations with the customer as well as on a quarterly basis share them and review them with NYSERDA and the customer, the goal of which is not that the customer has to execute upon all of these measures that we determine from doing the monitoring and utilizing our analytical tools, but to make sure that they're educated on the savings that could be achieved if indeed that they did execute upon these findings. So that's Energy Worksite. Facility Worksite is kind of the sister application. Facility Worksite is a work order facilities resource management tool, again, cloud-based, easy to use, and actually is being utilized by about 16,000 buildings across the country. And as I mentioned earlier, the goal of the RTEM program is to come up with an efficient way to communicate both with the customer and with NYSERDA in explaining what these measures are, tracking these measures for execution, closing these measures out once they're done to show success. And Facility Worksite is the platform that does that. It is a work order management cloud-based tool, allows for easy collaboration on everybody, all the stakeholders involved in managing the building. It can be utilized not only for energy issues, but also for ongoing scheduled maintenance, any other activities in the building, and again has been very popular, very efficient, and will be the basis for communicating energy-saving measures that we discover from the Energy Worksite. So with this, I think I'll let Teddy describe some of the incentives that NYSERDA has for the Real-Time Energy Management Program.
Yeah, so the NYSERDA RTEM program, as you may be aware, provides incentives for both the system installation and then also the service products for years 1 through 3 and ongoing. So you can see that there's a cost share that NYSERDA has, and it's a 30% in the beginning for the actual installation, and then it declines over time. Projects are capped at their value, but the goal of NYSERDA is to help support, provide both incentives for the installation, but also for the ongoing service, because that's where the facility managers will see the value over time as they get used to products that can help them identify ways to optimize their energy consumption. So it's both the installation and ongoing service over time. Joshua Clyburn is the main contact for the RTEM program, and I'm the main contact, and my colleague Ryan Bird is also the main contact for the ETAC deployment, which is specifically focused on the Building IQ technology. But Building IQ's products PEO is eligible for the ETAC deployment, and then its other products are eligible for the real-time energy management product. I'll hand it back to Kevin.
Yes, well, at this point, Steve, I think we want to kind of open it up to any additional questions for the last few minutes here of our hour.
Great. We had a question that went back to products. I think this was addressed to Ken. And it is, can your system make predictive energy savings if you add new control points or you undergo new energy conservation measures? In other words, how does it respond to changes in the BMS? What needs to change?
Yeah, so a couple comments there. First of all, if the new points are added to the system, then we merely just need to scan them and map them into our system, and we can start incorporating them into it. When it comes to control, Building IQ really has a very limited set of points that it's controlling, and typically it's the supply air temperature and the supply air pressure. It's a very light touch when it comes to the control, which is helpful in conversations with building managers and facility managers, because oftentimes once you start mentioning you want to start doing control in their building, they're like, whoa, I just got the system tuned, I don't want anyone messing with it. So it's a very light touch and very light rollout. And also what we'll typically do is we'll start implementing or introducing control maybe within a few zones to get the facility manager comfortable with our level of control and what we do, as well as the facility manager is able to set the band of control, kind of an upper and lower limit, particularly for temperature. So they can also kind of start with a narrow range and then broaden that for more and more control. Steve, did that address the question, or did I leave anything out there?
I think so. One thing I would add is from a data science perspective, we are also looking at understanding within particular unique building environments what the impact is of modifying that comfort band, and what is the energy impact of a half-degree change or 1 degree change. So we continue to evolve that part of the platform for better predictive analytics of savings in a forward-looking manner, as opposed to realizing savings based on current weather conditions and current pricing.
Yeah, the other note or comment that comes to mind that I wanted to share too is that sometimes buildings will undergo radical changes, such as there's a drastic change in the occupancy, or maybe they've introduced newer, more efficient equipment, which has an impact on the energy usage. In those cases, we can also do a rebaselining or a baseline adjustment to take into account those significant changes, which from that point forward would affect performance.
Great. I think we have just time for 1 or 2 more questions. The next question is, do you currently have any ERAC participants, ERAC participants?
Maybe that's ETAC participants?
Yes, it is ETAC. Yeah. Sorry, it was misspelled, and I reread it misspelled. Yes.
Yeah, so we have a number. We started the program in 2016, so we have a number of buildings that are undergoing the scoping process, and one that has the Building IQ platform that is installing right now. So we have a couple that are in consideration in the pipeline, and we expect in the next couple of months we'd have some more that are online, and some one that we'd actually be able to go in and show you that they were online connected. So that would probably be in the next couple of months.
Okay. Next, and I think it's going to be our last question, is does Building IQ act as a DR aggregator, or can it act as a DR aggregator?
Well, I'll take that one, Kevin here. So our business model is that of being software as a service provider, and we are a DR facilitator, but we will never be a DR aggregator in the classic sense of the word. We can either augment one of your customers' curtailment efforts, if they have an existing aggregator agreement in place. Typically, those curtailment strategies do not involve the HVAC system, and we can add that component to their program kind of independent of the aggregator, whereby We just want our software as a service fee, and we provide these DR services as part of that annual fee, and the customer maintains all of the benefit from the demand response event. And likewise, I believe for National Grid customers that have, I forget if it's either 50 or 100 kW potentially to curtail, they could be a direct subscriber. And we are working with some Con Ed customers now in this regard, whereby your customer could be a direct subscriber without an aggregator with that 100 kW minimum, and we provide that platform for them to successfully participate that way.
Great. And one last thing, maybe, Kevin, if you could just tell the audience what the next steps would be and how to move forward.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Steve. I think if you click the next slide there, Steve, it will have my contact information there. It's just Kevin D at buildingiq.com, and my cell phone number. I work with our Secaucus team very closely, but again, we're kind of covering the entire state of New York. As Teddy pointed out, there's a wide range of buildings. Essentially, any building would be eligible for either one of the programs, and I would certainly look forward to either setting up a more detailed, presentation, individual online presentation, or a meeting up in Albany, or whatever we need to do in order to help get the word out to your customers about these programs.
So would customers be referred directly to us or come in through the National Grid folks?
Whatever is the easiest path. I think if the account managers there at National Grid are willing to set up an online meeting and participate, that would be great. Or if they simply want to refer their customers to me, initially, we can get them plugged into our engineering team and start an analysis of their building.
Great. That brings us to the end, unless there are any last-minute questions, which I don't believe there are. I want to thank everybody for attending. It's early morning for us Californians, but it was great having this discussion. And again, thank you for attending on behalf of Building IQ and Energy Solutions. And everybody have a great day. Thanks.